we'll throw it over to Sid.
Thank you very much. Oh yeah, there was someone who was saying something about Bashir, and in this show, as he never quite knows what's going on. It's quite fun. I thought that was quite funny. Yeah, that's right, you, Jen. Because this is my impersonation of Bashir. So does that mean what if should he have? Yeah, okay. There you go. That answers all your questions in all of them in one go. He's very useful though for the plot. Matthew's like dagger eyes at me right now. I'm just seeing whose birthday it is today. Because Mel always sends me a list. I don't have any responsibility for remembering anybody. Mel does all of that. But there you go. So let's get on with it. Let's say happy birthday to somebody, because I know there's at least 3 people who deserve to be, oh wait, 2 people who have to have their birthdays mentioned today. Unlike last week, unlike Tuesday, we had 5 people or something. Crazy talk.
A lot of January babies. So our next January baby is Audrey.
Hello.
Hello, Audrey. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Have you ever had millions of people, well, dozens of people say happy birthday to you from all over the world at the same time?
No, I haven't.
Well, this is what it sounds like.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
It still just makes me giggle. It's one of the
Well,
nice
thank you, everybody.
You're very welcome. Where are you?
I am in Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, right. Okay. Is that the same? That's not the same, excuse my ignorance, but that's not the same as West Virginia. That's a completely different state. Yeah.
No, it's a completely different state. And I actually, if you have any questions about Virginia as a state, I can't answer because I moved here recently. And I actually moved here last January and for work. And because of work, I had no time to be a tourist or anything. I never came here before moving here. So,
wow.
So since lockdown, I have not, I've just been in my little bubble here in this very particular neighborhood of Alexandria. So, there's all these weird historic things here that I haven't been able to see. There's the old Masonic temples here. It's just so foreign and odd to me.
Where did you come from?
Before moving here, I lived in the UK for 5 years, and then before that, I lived in Las Vegas, and then before that in Southern California.
Oh wow, you're just a cultural ping pong ball from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And whereabouts in the UK?
I lived in London for a year while I was getting my master's at UCL, and then I lived in Oxford for 4 years after that.
Oh,
doing
amazing.
a PhD.
That's fantastic. And what did you study?
I studied evolutionary biology. I am doing my main area of research is ancient DNA or paleogenomics, basically interpreting the DNA patterns from really long dead organisms like animals and pathogens, and trying to answer questions about their evolution, domestication, and zoonotic transfer and all of that.
Oh my goodness. So you must be so giddy with excitement when they keep discovering these beautifully intact corpses from sort of hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's one of the boons to the field. The climate change the melting permafrost has revealed quite a lot of really beautiful, beautifully preserved mummies of long extinct animals, and it's great for it's one of the bright sides of this horrific thing that's happening to all of us.
Absolutely. Is there any rationale at all? I'm going to ask stupid questions, by the way. Is there any rationale at all behind that Jurassic Park theory that you can bring back dinosaurs to life?
No. No. They're
Because they're talking about bringing back
well,
mammoths and stuff.
No, basically we can recover, like the DNA is so it's like degraded to the point where we can, like, we can't we can't sequence like it in its entirety. We only have fragments, and if we're lucky, there's enough fragments for us to infer like information from them, like how they're related to other organisms, other species that are closely related to them, stuff like that. But like there's a lot of gaps where we have no idea how to fill in. But I mean, I love Jurassic Park in like it's a wonderful piece of science fiction, and I think the important thing is, even if it's not realistic, it got people interested, in the discipline, in the science, and that's something that I personally appreciate a lot.
We're proud to have in the club, we've got at least 2 proto-paleontologists under 10 years old. So they're still coming thick and fast.
It's fantastic.
Arriving, and there was, I think she was 6, just hit her 6th birthday, said paleontology, and I don't think I even knew that word until I was at least 35. How did you enjoy your time at UCL? I was at UCL, so I'm curious. I wasn't there very long.
I wasn't there for very long either. I was only there for a year. I really enjoyed it. London is my favorite city in the world. And actually what a sort of funny story is, at the end of the year, I had volunteered to give a tour to prospective students. And I was showing them around the quad and all of that, and then I brought them to Jeremy Bentham's Auto Icon, and they were not happy with me. They were horrified, and I got so offended.
That is funny. I mean, people don't know. You just carry on, finish your story.
Oh no, yeah. And then I was like, so I didn't exactly say, what's wrong with you, but that was really clear. That was what I was feeling and thinking. And then they were like, well, we wanted to see, where the gym was, what pubs and clubs you go to. And I'm like, it's London. Who cares? You can just go anywhere.
Just
out. Yeah. I wanted to tell you that about how I guess you were part of one of my favorite days in my life. If I may tell you this story, probably really terribly. So this was in London. So on the day that I submitted my master's thesis to UCL, I also had tickets as a groundling to see you at the Globe Theatre. So I just remember having, I don't know if you've ever had like one of the most like perfect days alone, like.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so I, like, after submitting my thesis, I went to South Bank and went to the Tate Modern. Like, really could not believe that the ticket was only £5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the very front. I was leaning against the wooden stage. It was just great, and it was so great seeing my, one of my favorite actors, like, so close on stage that like I didn't know anything about the play before.
So did I. Was it raining on the day you came? Was it a lovely day? Because it rains so often.
It was a beautiful summer day in July.
Thank goodness.
It
rained
perfect.
At least half the time we were doing that show.
Oh,
we just had to get used to it. raining. And the stage became so slippery. And we did all those sword fights and things.
Yeah.
And it's just so lethal. People sliding past your eye because they were slipping in the rain. It's horrifying. Well, at least you didn't come on the day that I forgot my lines. There was one day. It would actually happen. The worst possible nightmare for an actor in a play is to forget your lines, obviously. But it's just the worst of the worst. And normally, people rescue you because you've got a scene and everyone knows where it's going. But that show, as you probably remember, a lot of it was on my shoulders because I was just sort of driving the play through, saying what we're going to do next, what's happening. And I just went, I have no idea what I'm going to say next. I have absolutely no idea. And hundreds of people were just looking up at me from the thing. And then there's that moment when people actually started to giggle because they knew that I'd lost it. And my actor friends around me were like, we can't help you. And then I just said something and I just got going again. I just don't know how. It was long enough a pause that people started to laugh. It was the worst day of my life. I'm hoping that's it. I'm never going to do that again. Is that in terms of DNA and stuff like that? How do people? Because ever since I was a kid, and you might not know the answer, but I suspect you probably will. Ever since I was a kid, I was always fascinated by it because I loved dinosaur bones, the Natural History Museum in London, which is probably one of the finest natural history museums in the world. And I would walk around and see all these stuffed animals and all these artists' impressions of dinosaurs. And I always wondered, how do they know from bones what a dinosaur looks like? How do they come up with the colors? How do they figure out that it has weird cheeks? Can you give me a clue on how on earth they make those leaps of creativity?
I suppose like you can infer some things from just the subtleties of the bones, like and if you're familiar enough with anatomy, like where the muscles would attach to, and like once you build upon that, then like perhaps you can infer like a little bit more past that. But it really is like an art also. You do make a lot of assumptions. In Jurassic Park, all of the kind of grayish, green, brown colors of dinosaurs that has really ingrained itself into, our cultural understanding of what dinosaurs look like. It's probably not the case. The dinosaurs probably were quite brightly colored. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I've been following Sid City for many, many months. I've been following Sid City, the website, since like 2013. And so, so I've been kind of sipping at this, trying not to freak out and like vomit in front of everybody.
You have been brilliant. You're like remotely nervous. You're just
Thank you. I really don't want to take up so much time, but I do want to ask you a kind of one of those no bad answer questions that you like to put on people before, and I would like to ask you one. I actually stole this from Nick Cave's Red Hand Files. I actually think that you would appreciate it if you haven't like heard of it before.
They're called Red Hand letters? I'm sorry.
Red Hand Files, Nick Cave.
Hand Files.
Yeah. Nina Simone once said, freedom means having no fear. Sometimes on stage, she added, she would reach that kind of state. How do you free yourself from fear?
That's a great question. Fear takes a long time to get over. And people are in too much of a hurry for all kinds of problems. So, whatever, even what seemingly trivial problems, time is a great healer. I think real fear, like some people have expressed here, they're all real, but I mean, clear and present danger type fear, where you're being mugged or something like that. And I've never been mugged. I have actually. But I forget it quite easily. I think I don't think I have an answer for that, because I don't think I have a useful answer for that, because I just think my makeup is so different for other people's. I was a spoiled child, So I knew less fear than most kids. I wasn't spoiled in the sense I got given stuff, but I was spoiled with love. So I got given so much love that fear was a long way down the list of things that I worried about. And when it did happen, I reacted quite bravely usually. So I think it's a really good question. I don't think I have an answer that's universal, but I think you have to, if you know someone who's afraid, that it sticks with them, that it haunts them, then time and gentleness are the two things that really work.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for working up the courage.
I'm really glad I did.
Me
thank
too.
you.
Thanks, Audrey. Your job is fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we have another birthday to celebrate. We're going to go to Siddig in Brazil.
Hello.
How are you doing, Sid?
Very good indeed. It's good to see you again. It's been months since we saw each other.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine.
Because a lot has happened in Brazil since.
Oh God, yeah.
You still all living together?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you've got a lot of your family, the whole family is together. Yeah.
Yes. My mother and my brother is still here,
Yeah.
safe and sound.
I can't remember what city you were near. Was it Sao
São
Paulo?
Paulo. São Paulo.
Sao Paulo. When is your birthday?
On Sunday. Next Sunday. Yeah.
Can we say happy birthday to you, just to cheer everybody up, and especially you?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Hey!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Because last time I think we talked a bit about cooking and stuff, because I was really interested in that part, because who was cooking in your family, etc., etc. But is anybody drawing, or do you find that are the arts flourishing? Is anything like that happening?
In Brazil, yeah. I think so. Brazil was always very, very rich culturally.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, but now we have artists engaging more on political issues. So we have bands that are writing songs, talking about everything that's happening here in Brazil. So we have lots of cartoonists that are being very vocal with their arts.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a lot of that here.
Artists have a really important role to play in terms of soft diplomacy and slowly changing people's minds, and also arguing, being a safe place to argue a point. Mm-hmm. A movie or a song, you can argue about that. You can't argue about masks without getting upset with, people taking sides, but you can argue about a song, especially if it's satirical and interesting. So what have been your high points since May when we talked?
Oh my gosh, high points. Sid City Social Club okay. Concert. I was almost talking in Portuguese right now.
What is Sid City Social Club?
Com certeza, Sid City Social Club é o melhor, foi maravilhoso. I was almost saying that. Yes, it's been lovely being here.
Yeah.
Also, last year I've watched lots of pieces from the National Theatre in UK. I've watched it online, and it was really great. I like that.
Because they give these free performances, don't they? They air them on TV. Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, and the Royal Opera House did that too. So you can watch ballet if you like ballet and opera and stuff like that. That's really cool. That's cool. Okay, that's a good thing I forgot about that, and that's a really good thing to remember.
That was really nice.
So when we last talked, we did talk a bit about cooking. And did you submit a recipe we didn't talk about cooking?
No, because I told you that I don't cook at all.
I know. But we did talk about it.
I sent the one recipe that I can do. and that is brigadeiro, which is a Brazilian dessert. So that's the one recipe that I sent because it's the
To our
one that
recipe.
I can make.
I still haven't got round to making because I want to do it with Shana filming it so that people can share that, and I still haven't got round to it. It takes so much time to organize the Shana being off because she's got things she's always got to do, and me doing the shopping for it, and I just never get round to it, and that's my fault. I will get round to doing some of these recipes because it'd be fun to watch them being made. Even though I don't want to ruin someone's cherished recipe by being a sloppy cook, be really careful. I don't eat desserts, but the rest of the family do, so that would be terrific.
Why
It's
not?
weird. It's really weird. I know. I just can't eat dessert. It just doesn't. I just stop, and I go, well, I can't. That's it. I eat the meal, and then I just can't eat anymore. It's a thing in my body just goes, well, there you go. You've eaten. That's it. You can't have any more. That's it.
Oh no, sorry,
Yeah.
I cannot understand you. Sorry.
I know. Everybody thinks I'm weird. I can't even get a second helping of something. I get one helping of food, I eat it, and that's it. Like I won't get a second helping. It's like I have a cutoff. I just can't bring myself to eat anymore. It's very odd. So
I'm totally the opposite. I will I will eat less of the food just to make sure that I have a place enough to eat the dessert.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm really, really glad you came back to talk. I'm really glad you did. Come back and talk to us.
Thank you, Sid. It was awesome talking to you.
Thank you. It's awesome talking to you too again.
Thanks, Siddig. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Did we all say happy birthday?
We
Yeah, they have.
See, I'm crazy. I've lost it.
did. You know, your memory would improve if you ate dessert.
It's true. More chocolates.
Yeah.
You've got that Costco bag of candy. I think you're fine. We are going to talk with Kat.
Hi.
There she is.
Hi. Where are you, Kat? What's that delightful looking dress behind you? Are you a costumier?
Yes, sometimes. So this is an 1886 or so Victorian dress that I've been working on for the last year or so, because funnily enough, the event I was going to wear it to got cancelled.
Oh my goodness. It looks, I mean, it's a bit blurry, but it looks beautiful. It's a little bit hard to tell because it looks like you've fogged up your camera like that. The shape is absolutely beautiful. I mean, I can see that. Just gorgeous.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of starch petticoatage under there somewhere.
Oh my goodness. How on earth are you going to get into it? You're going to need help.
No, not really. You get used to it. The only thing that I need help with is somebody to lace up the back for me because I can't get my hand behind there. But
Yeah.
I can get into it.
You've got to love clothes, haven't you, that were designed for help. You may not put this stuff on by yourself. This is these definitely upper class wear where you have people to help you put your shoes on and things.
It would be fantastic, wouldn't it? I do a lot of 14th century reenactment, and I started quite low down the social scale, and I've slowly been making my way higher up the social scale. And as you go, you kind of realize why everybody had servants, because all of this stuff just takes a long time to get on, and a long time to launder, and a long time to take care of.
Absolutely. Did you see Crow show us a bit of one of his the painting of the knight trying to get his chainmail off on Tuesday? You probably wouldn't know because you're in it sounds like you're in the UK.
I am, yes.
So that you wouldn't have seen it because it was middle of the night for you. But we've got another person who designs happens to be chainmail today, but they were doing something with leather last time that I had a peek. And so it's very different every single time. In the 14th century, 15th century, there it is. There's the painting. That's it. It's not as obscene as it looks. It's actually just trying to get out.
How you get out of chainmail, you
Yes.
you have your arms sort of swim.
Exactly. I'm not quite sure why the king is pointing to his backside, but I don't know. That's not important. That's just, there's probably some subtext we're missing over the centuries that have disappeared. There would maybe bubble text or something has been rubbed off or painted over. I'm always amazed about how costumes, and especially high class clothes, were incredibly difficult to get on and off unless you have, well, you just, did you find that when you're working in the reenactment scene that your status literally went up the longer you stayed with them?
Maybe a little bit, but I think it was more status just going up because people in the group slightly respect you more if you put stupid amounts of time into making things.
Oh yeah.
Because you sort of realize, this outfit that I'm wearing is probably about 100 hours of every stitch being hand sewn, and you look at yourself and you look at your life and go, why did I do this? I don't know.
Because it's important to you and it's fantastic. Are you kidding? I mean, I can't see it because your cameras are blurry. I know it's. Oh!
There you go. My laptop is probably just terrible. Oh dear.
That's hilarious. It's like night and day. I can actually see everything clearly. That's hilarious. So that is what, tell us what you're wearing. This
is a 1350s outfit, which is based off a manuscript that's in the BNF in France. Oh so it's very fashionable for circa 1350. It consists of a sideless surcoat. There's two garments going on here, and then there's a kirtle underneath it. They're both made out of the same fabric. It's a fairly saturated color, so it's quite expensive, and it's made of broadcloth, and it has, I don't know how well you can see because it's so dark, but probably, in fact, 43 sleeve buttons on either side. And I know because I
can see that. I don't know why I'm moving to the side to see it. Cameras are cameras. I can't go look around the back. That's amazing. That looks like the sort of thing that someone would have worn, a very high class person indeed would have worn that in a court.
Sort of doing country, I'm a country bumpkin lady probably, because the group that we're in is based just outside of Cardiff, which at the time is not the most fashionable area of the country. So I'm the big cheese where we live, but if I'd gone up to London and to court, everyone would have laughed at me.
Yeah. And is that a 14th century hairstyle as well?
Yes, it is. I'm being a shameless hussy at the moment. I should really be veiled all the way up to the eyebrows, but I'm just a terrible person.
Yeah, well, we know, we've heard that about you. Yeah,
everyone says that about
just Zoom bombing the world and coming on without a veil. It's just horrifying.
It probably would have had some wimple that sort of covered you in the neck and then over the top as well, but you keep your hair forward because you maybe being a little bit flirty and showing a touch of your hair.
A little bit of hair, just a bit naughty.
Just a little bit. The church wouldn't have been very happy about it. But for some reason, because I quite like doing hair like this, I just sort of keep my hair long so that I can do this on occasion.
I really actually like the hair like that. I think it's a really lovely style. It's because it doesn't telegraph very much, and it actually looks kind of unique. And I quite enjoy that. And what got you into this particular century in terms of reenactments? And reenactments doesn't seem to do justice to the amount of work you're putting into it, but still, I kind of understand.
What got me into it? I was in uni in Cardiff and then joined the society that was there. It was affiliated with the uni at the time. Realised I quite liked it. Back when I was about 18, I was in all of the sword fighting and the chainmail wearing, and I had an alter ego called Ed because I was dressing up as a bloke, and then realised I was getting a bit too old for that and just couldn't be bothered with it anymore, and then decided to embrace going on the costuming side and haven't really looked back. Costuming I was finding more fun, and you get to sit around an awful lot more. It was great.
It's fun because you get to sit.
You get to sit there and play, and you sit there and embroider, or you do some weaving with your lovely imported silk thread, and you watch all of the fighters getting really sweaty in the sun, and you're just laughing at them.
How do people come and see you? Is there any way on YouTube or anything like that that we can come and get a better idea of your work? Because I think people will be really fascinated to get a glimpse of the stuff you do, especially the lengths to which you work and how hard you work. And I think people will want you to join. I think there's a Discord, that Sid City one, and I think people would like you because what I normally do is I ask questions that people don't want to hear the answers to, and they want to ask questions and they don't get a chance to do it because this is a complete benign tyranny. So
Sure. I actually work for Titan Books, which is a SFF and licensed book publisher, and I'm Una McCormack's sometime editor.
Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. Oh, wonderful. So that's, you've now opened a whole new can of worms, haven't you? So and that's what you do for a living.
That is what I do for a living. Yes.
And how on earth did you get into that?
So I wanted to go into publishing after studying English literature at uni, was fortunate enough to get a job in a tiny Welsh press for a couple of years. Then the job came up at Titan and they said they wanted somebody who was a sci-fi nerd. And I was like, right, okay, then I can do that. Spent my job interview discussing very obscure aspects of Blake 7, and then they gave me the job. And I've been doing that for 5.5 years.
And Titan, is it a particular kind, is it a niche publisher, or is it, would you say it was a cross-genre publisher? What sort of thing is it? Because if you come in and talk about Blake 7, that's pretty obscure in itself.
Yeah, okay. That's probably just the team. The team are just a massive bunch of nerds. I mean, Titan publishes quite a lot of genre fiction across horror, sci-fi, fantasy, young adult, etc. But then there's also a licensed side of it. So I handle the Firefly novels that have been publishing in recent years. Also the autobiography of various Star Trek captains, which is what I was doing with Una.
Oh, fantastic.
And then various Marvel and DC novels.
Oh my goodness. So how on earth does a youngster, apart from going to university and doing all the right bits and bobs, English and stuff, how do they get on a trajectory that gets them into editorial work, publishing? Because a lot of people might really enjoy that.
This is the way of a lot of things these days. You have to do a lot of work for free to be able to get into it. So what I was doing was, when I was at university, I was signing up for placements in various different places and did quite a few summers working for various different people. And then I suppose I got lucky and saw the first job at the Welsh Press come up and went for that, and then got into it that way. But it's a side of publishing I can't say is my favorite, because it means that you just get really one socioeconomic class in publishing. And it's people who can afford to do that. And I was lucky because my father lived in London, so I could live with my father and do placements in London and didn't have rent to pay.
And what exactly do you do? I mean, it's like a producer, isn't it? People don't know what a producer is. It's many different things, and an editor is possibly many different shades of editor.
And it really does depend on what exactly your job is and who you're working for. And so at Titan, it's a lot of project management, and it's commissioning projects, and you see the submissions come in and you think, yes, I think we could make a success out of that. And you sell it, you try and sell it to sales, and you see if you can get them on board and you get it commissioned. And then you edit it and you get the text as good as you think you can possibly get it. And then you put it out there. But at any one time, at Titan anyway, there's probably about 15 projects in various stages of completion, and you're just hurrying them along. So you're editing this one and you're sending this one to press, and you're writing the cover brief for this one. It's great fun.
Wow. So you're doing all the blue pencil work as well as a lot of the production work.
It was supported by a lot of different departments. So there's a sales department, there's a marketing department, there's a design studio, and everybody else. But you're the one who's overseeing the project and putting it all through and making sure that everything bounces between the right people at the right time.
And I know that this has never happened with you and Una, so I'm not going to be, this is not going to embarrass her.
I will not discuss the name of Una.
You've got a project that is pre-sold, pre-bought. I mean, you know, there's no issue with the novelist because they're famous or something, and you get that first, you know, piece of that manuscript, and you look at it and you're like, this is shockingly bad. How do you approach that? Do you go, well, I'm just going to we'll just muddle through?
You muddle through. You almost always make it work. You sit down, you have a lot of very tactful conversations with the author, and this would never, ever happen with Una. I can see that in the chat, ever. She's one of the most professional I've got.
But there's such delicate egos in some of them, that I wonder how you approach that I know this is definitely not true of your writer who's in this room right now, because I simply wouldn't be saying this because she doesn't seem to have a delicate ego at all. And I just wonder how you do that, because you've got to get the message across. You can't not do it. You can't put out something substandard.
Well, the best thing to do is to convince them, as is pretty much always the case, that you believe in their work, and you can see something in it, and you believe that you can make a success out of it. And you say that in order to just make this the best thing that it can be, you take these bare bones that you've got here and that are fantastic, and you just add to them. And you try to explain it as carefully and as clearly as possible that, no, don't worry about it. It is perfectly possible to get this where it needs to be. And then you send them off and hope that they do it. And then sometimes they don't. And then that's when you have to move publication dates. But they almost always do it.
I think that's a really good way of also helping young kids learn how to write. It's a very similar process. You know, you say, this is exactly where we're in absolutely the right ballpark here. And we just need to fiddle around with these things, and you're incredibly talented and all of that. And maybe one day we can get to here, except happily you don't have a publication date. You've just got an essay to hand in, or a master's, or something trivial.
But honestly, you very, very rarely get somebody who is not willing to work with you. And I guess it's sort of a mark of a good editor to be able to draw all of that out of somebody. And it's something I've been learning over the years. And I work with some fantastic people who can take something that just doesn't work and say in the nicest way, you just need to do this to it and it'll be perfect. And you go, how did you get them to do that? Okay, I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah. And have you ever come across scripts that you just go, stories in whatever form, that you just think, oh my goodness, this is just astonishing. Yes. And I don't know quite how to help, but I know that I must do something. And what do you do in that scenario? Because everything needs some collaborative help.
You just sort of have to trust yourself. And honestly, I'll tell you a secret that's going to lots of people. When I first started editing, I used to get like that and think, oh, no, God, this is coming from an author that I really, really love. What if I don't think of anything to say? And that's never happened. And I'm just not entirely sure how that's never happened, but you always think of something, even if it's something tiny. And then when there's something that's just that fantastic and you find this one tiny thing where you can offer a suggestion, you're like, yes, you've spelled that wrong.
Yeah. But what I do like about what you're saying is that nothing cannot be improved with collaboration. And the collaborative instinct is the most progressive artistic instinct there is. And even the most, I suppose, the most hermetically sealed artist who insists on doing everything by themselves will benefit from an opinion if they trust it.
Kind of got to make them trust you.
You got to make them trust you. Well, this is brilliant.
It's been a really wonderful thing since Una introduced me to this, having this to look forward to on a Friday, because I have nothing else on.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you come. And I know that a lot of people will want to get into just about every element of your life now. We know a little bit more about it. Your on stage and off stage stuff.
Scary.
Yeah, scary. They don't bite, Kat.
Oh gosh.
I'm the only one who bites.
Or Nina.
That's just terrible.
I'm sorry I couldn't get to more people. It just one of those, it just kept on going. I just didn't stop.
So many fascinating people to talk to.
I wasn't hugely disciplined about cutting people off today. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. I do want to give a quick birthday shout out to Russ. I'm not sure if he is able to unmute or turn off his camera, but Sarah just sent a note that said it's Russ's birthday today. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Russ.
Happy birthday, Russ.
Happy birthday, Russ.
Happy birthday, Russ.
Happy
birthday,
Russ.
Happy anniversary.
It's very humbling to be given a birthday wishes from so many people.
It's lovely, isn't it, Russ? You deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Rita.
Yeah, I'm just going to put that down so it's easier to.
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to nearly see you, Rita. There you are. There you are.
Okay.
it's very interesting listening to all the different people's stories. It's quite fascinating. It's strange because the last one person in Sao Paulo, Brazil, I had a very interesting experience of back in 2015. But
you were in Brazil?
Rita and I were given a talk for a deaf-blind international conference for teachers of deaf-blind people, deaf education.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to say, Brazilian people are wonderful people, very warm and friendly. And I said to him, well, my colleague and I can do a half-hour singing slot for you. And we had a very interesting setup. I said, I'm left-handed, you see. So I need a left-handed guitar. So they didn't have a left-handed guitar, so we had to restring it. And we're on stage, and I said, how many microphones have we got? One. Okay. So we had to improvise a bit. About 300 people in the audience. And I was doing this music and stuff, and it just went wild. You know, I felt like a sort of celebrity, some friendliness. And it's amazing how communities come together, you know.
Yeah, especially over music. And I've seen quite a few documentaries of bands in Brazil and orchestras in Brazil. I mean, they really, there's a grassroots music movement in Brazil for kids, especially who are disadvantaged, have no money. I've seen, I don't know if you disagree with me, but it seems like there've been real movements in Brazil to bring music to the kids and let classical music, difficult music.
Yeah, we have a lot of this in Brazil. I'm near some of these projects. I have some of my students who are part of this, and these projects are very important for us.
Yeah, I love that. Especially it's also classical music. It's not just rock. They play beautifully. They play really well. These difficult instruments, cellos and violas, you know, all the wind section. And that's you tapped into that, Russ, I think.
Well, I mean, I was particularly influenced when I started to become interested in music. I just love Antonio Carlos Jobim. In fact, Sinatra did a marvelous recording with Carlos Jobim. Girl from Ipanema was one of my favorites, but you have to be able to feel that music because it's so light. You know, it's got a bossa nova beat.
Very cool.
And I used to play the organ, electronic organ, where you have two manuals and bass pedals. And you could feel this rhythm coming through your whole body. And you really have to feel it very sensitively. That introduced you to a whole new concept of different chords, different harmonic structures, and so on.
For sighted and people who have hearing, it's quite hard to imagine having disabilities in those areas. But music is one thing that is possible to transfer. So I mean, we can, in a sense, we can I don't know, put some headphones on or earplugs on and close our eyes and listen to music through touch. And is there any way that you would recommend that we would get we'd get nothing like the experience that you get, because your sensitivities must be just so much more heightened to that particular thing. But is there any way we can share something that you would listen to and feel rather than hear or see?
Yes, definitely. I mean, during my time in Norway, I spent 1 year working with children with very profound disabilities. And they were mainly deaf. Some had blindness, some had multiple disabilities. And I mean, some of those kids were sort of so disabled, some couldn't walk, had CP and so on. And they had wonderful vibroacoustic floors, like a music floor, where if you can imagine lying on your stereo system and playing your favorite music and feeling those vibrations come through.
Yeah.
And when you're selecting different styles of music, you've got to be very careful that it's not too busy or too complex,
right,
or too high or too low even. So it's sort of, and needs a very good range.
Yeah.
And what I've found is, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to quote certain artists, but for me, John Barry's music particularly, I particularly like because he had a beautiful arrangements, you know, doubling up on the double basses and so on.
Right.
and you can really feel those vibrations come through you. And what's interesting that when you look at artists like Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, he's actually deaf in one ear.
Right.
And I was really surprised. I thought, blimey, how did he work out where he goes on stage? You know, because I know when I'm on stage, I have to be in a certain position to be able to feel the bass, the rhythms, and also to hear my co-singer with me. But I have to use both my body and my what I call useful hearing, although I don't have any hearing left because I have a cochlear implant, which is basically like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
That is the cochlear implant.
Right.
And I had to retrain my brain to interpret sound. I mean, piano sounded awful and things like this. And so you have to retrain your body to feel things. And if I take everything off, I just feel tones only because I was born severely deaf. So I'd never known what normal sound is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be very hard to understand.
No, it isn't actually.
And when you speak to Evelyn Glennie, who's a deaf percussionist, she says she feels her whole body, feels the vibration through the floor, and she encompasses and she feels through her mallets and the sticks that she's playing. And I started to get quite interested in, well, what about Beethoven? Because he was profoundly deaf from the age of 30, he started to go profoundly.
Yeah.
And when you start to listen to some of his music, and I always think, oh, it must be his aggression, feeling so angry he can't hear the music or something. Mm-hmm. Then you hear stories that he actually held on to the piano to feel those tones. And yet he played beautiful songs like the Moonlight Sonata, which is gentle as anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is a combination of what you perhaps perceive through your body and what you hear in your mind. Perhaps.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think I just want to be able to empathize a little, but I know that I can't do a very good job of it because I can never make myself deaf. I mean, I would have to put on, put my head underwater or something, but even then I would hear.
Yeah, that's funny. But if you put your head underwater, water is a very good conductor of sound, would you believe? Because I remember going into a swimming pool once and had my implants off, and they played this Dinosaurs music.
Right.
And I could feel those vibrations. And they had the Loch Ness Monster. You could feel the sort of deep tones coming through the water.
Yeah.
Trying to give people that experience. I say to them, well, put the earmuffs on, close your eyes, hold a balloon, and when you're in the room, play the favorite music or something, and just feel those tones and vibrations going through the balloon. And if you put your palm of your hand on the balloon, you might feel a different sensation, or if you put it on the tips of your fingers, you may get a different sensation. Then walk away from the speakers as far as you can. You'll be surprised how those tones will go through. Right. Like a gym floor, that sort of thing, probably the best resonance because you get wooden vibration. And even on glass, you'll be able to feel different textures. And
thank you. That was the answer I was looking for. I mean, a lot of us have noise cancelling earphones now, so maybe we can do something to just get a sense. Just nice to be able to share a little bit of the music element. So that would be interesting to go, okay, yeah, I kind of know what you feel. I just wouldn't be as sensitive and I have as sophisticated at interpreting those vibrations as you are, but hey, it would at least be a start. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough, Russ, for coming back and saying hi. Always wise insight from you. Always really interesting. And we'll get back and have we should probably have a longer discussion about music one of these days.
Thank you, Russ. Happy birthday.
And thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the time. Thank you.
Always welcome, Russ.
Take care. Stay safe.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on just a second. I'll stop it. No. Oh, she's going to shred the couch.
Is that your knee?
No, it is my cat, Siddig. Oh, my gosh. No, Miriam would not shred it. But it's all good. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe.
Weekend.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.
Enjoy yourselves.